Hey guys, Ayana Webb here, and in this video I'm going to share with you one of the ways that I practice, or I have my students practice, how to play or basically ear train when it comes to melodies. And if you watch until the end of this video, I'm going to share with you another way, a bonus way on how to play any melody by ear. So with this video I want to be switching between my face and the actual the piano, because we're going to be doing an actual exercise on how to listen for certain tones and keys without looking at the piano, and then we're going to review our work here. So I'm going to switch over to the keys. So if you're a complete beginner, I'm actually going to lower this this ring light here so you guys can see. If you are a complete beginner, we're going to go very, very basic. So if you don't know the first thing about piano, it's really simple. For the white key, C is the white key to the left with the two black keys. And it just goes C, D, E, F, G, like the alphabet. So C, D, E, F, G. After G, it's A, and then it's B, and then it's C, and then from there, C, the sequence starts over again. So all the piano is just the same 7 white keys and the same 5 black keys that repeat themselves over. It's just as you go to the right, the notes go higher in tone. As you go to the left, the notes go lower in tone, or the keys go lower in tone. That's pretty much as straightforward as the piano gets. So in one of my previous videos, I talked about the fundamentals of how to play any melody by ear, which I will share with you at the end of this video. But in this particular video, I'm going to share with you a way that you can actually practice ear training when it comes to playing melodies and being able to figure out what's happening in the melody of a song. So when it comes to music, right, when it comes to singing notes or playing notes, what we use in our heads, whether we realize it or not, are what's called relative keys. And what relative key means is we kind of have a key in our head, right? And whether we hear it or not, but this is just an example. We have a relative key in our head where we hear the key and we're able to figure out the other notes based on how far they are or how close they are to that relative key. So what we're going to do in this particular example is we're going to use C as our relative key. Before we get into C, or before we get into that, I want to introduce you to the other keys, and I want you to listen for how far each of these keys are from C as I play you the C scale. So the C scale is just C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, or the C major scale. There are different types of scales, but we're going to stick with the C major scale. So the C major scale is just C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and C. If we were to play the C major scale correctly with the right hand, we would start with our thumb on C. Then we'd use our index finger, our 2 finger, because for a piano the thumbs have, or the fingers have numbers. So thumb is number 1, index is 2, middle is 3, ring finger is 4, and pinky is 5. Right, so the thumb's going to start with C. The 2 fingers going to play D. The 3rd finger is going to play E. And very carefully, after your 3rd finger is going to play E, we're going to take our thumb, we're going to bring it under our 3rd finger, making sure that your fingers are nice and curved and that you're creating space between the palm of your hands and the actual keys. Your thumb will have enough room to slide under the 3rd finger. So thumb, 2 finger, 3rd finger for C, D, E. Then thumb comes under to play the next key, which is F. Then we will reposition, meaning our hands were over here, but now it's over here. So it goes from thumb on C, 2 on D, 3rd finger for C, 3rd finger for E. Then the thumb comes under to play F. You're going to let go of the E and reposition your entire hand, where now your 2 fingers are going to go to G. The 3rd finger is going to go to A. The 4th finger is going to play B. And then the pinky is going to end the scale with C. So 1, 2, 3, C, D, E. Thumb comes under, reposition to F. And and then 2, 3, 4, 5 for G, A, B, and C. So it goes, again, this is more than just about practicing the actual fingerings, which would be a good idea, by the way. But I want you to really listen for, again, what C sounds like and how far the other notes are from C as we progress, because we will be doing this as an exercise, or we'll be using that as an exercise later on in this video. So you start with C. Thumb comes under. Reposition. And again, this isn't necessarily about the scale. This is just to kind of help you familiarize yourself with the piano and kind of how the keys work. Again, this is really about showing you and familiarizing you with the bass notes that you're not like bass as in like the lower note, like B-A-S-E, right? The basics of the keys, right? Helping you figure out or helping you get familiar with how they sound and just getting, acquainted. And that way, once we go into our exercise, you'll be able to know what's going on. So now that we've practiced the C scale and we're familiar with the first 7 keys, well, if you add the C at the top, 8 keys, right, of the piano, we can now go into our ear training exercise where we use C as a relative key to figure out where the other keys are. Before I get into that, I do have a free Piano in 3 Steps video. If you want to learn piano and if you want to get your foot in the door, if you're a complete beginner, that free 3-step video is going to be perfect for you. So the link for that video is going to be in the description box. You just click the link and sign up for it, and the video will be accessible to you instantly. So just make sure that you sign up for that video before you leave this video. So now when it comes to playing melodies or being able to figure out how far keys are, we're going to use a simple example, and we're going to probably use a song. I'm kind of just improvising here. So let's say, for example, we have C. We know what C sounds like. It sounds like ba, right? And at some point, we're going to be, again, taking the camera off of the keyboard because I want you to be able to trust your ear. We're not going to do all of the keys. We're going to just do maybe like the first 4 because, again, I want you to get the concept of how relative key ear training works. So here we have C, and if you listen for D, right, you'll hear that D is right next door to C, right? They're up against each other. So that's how I know if I'm listening to a melody, right, and I can hear if it's D because I can hear how close it is to the relative key, which is C, right? Now, what if I wanted to go a little bit further? I'm just turning my Do Not Disturb on for my laptop, so you guys can't see what I'm seeing here, but I can see it, and again, it's distracting. So here, if I wanted to figure out this note, E, if you listen very closely, E is not that far. It's not as close as D, right? But there is a little bit of a distance between C and E. It's almost like you can hear a skip in between the notes because that's exactly what's happening. It's skipping D and going straight to E, right? So if we were to give an example of a song that starts with, let's say, E, if you're in the key of C, it would be Jingle Bells, right? So C is the relative key, and then E is the first note. Jingle bells, right? But we always go back to that relative key, right? So that's an example of how far E is. Now let's take F, for example. We're not going to do all the keys, but again, we're just going to just start with the simple ones. So F is going to be even further than E. So if we hear C, we can hear that there is a bit more of a distance. So a good reference between C and F, right, is Here Comes the Bride, right? So Here Comes the Bride is the exact distance from here, and then Comes the Bride is the exact distance between those notes as C is to F, right? So again, when we are putting melodies together in our heads, one of the ways in which we hear for melodies or hear for notes in the melody is to figure out how far that particular note is from the home key or the relative key. And the relative key is usually wherever the key the song is in. That's just my relative key that I use. So if the song is in the key of C major, right? So the relative key would be C for me. And then I would just figure out how far the other notes are individually from C to figure out what those notes are. That's one way to figure it out, right? And knowing the scale will help you narrow down the options. If I were in the key of G major, for example, in this key, then G could be the relative key. And then I would count the notes from there. But that's for a different video. I believe my surprise video will go over that a little bit more in detail. But what we're going to do is we're going to do an exercise. Again, this is more about applying the exercise. So I'm going to turn the camera to myself. We're going to do this together. Sorry if the camera kind of comes in and out in terms of the brightness, but you don't have to see me. I'm not important. What you're hearing is important. So again, this is C. I want you to listen closely. And for reference, this is D, right? So from C to D sounds like this, right? My voice is going out. I've been recording all day, guys. And then from C to E, you'll hear that there's a bit of a distance. There's like a skip. You'll hear it, right? And then from C to F is Here Comes the Bride, right? We're actually talking about intervals here. So if you're a more professional musician, you already know what I'm referring to. We're talking about intervals of seconds, thirds, and fourths. But again, it's not about that. It's about using relative keys to figure out what melody is happening. And I'll get into that in a second. But we're going to do an exercise first. So I'm going to play either D, I'm going to play C first, and I'm going to play either D, E, or F, and you have to figure out which one I'm playing based on the references that I've given you. So let's start with C. And what's the next note that I'm going to play? If you guessed E, you got it right. It's from C to E. What about this note? So I'm going to play C first, and I'm going to play the next note, and you have to figure out what note or what key that is. Listen closely. If you guessed D, you got it right, because if you hear, they're right up against each other, right? What about this one? So I'm going to play C first, and I'm going to play either D, E, or F. So listen very closely. If you guessed F, Here Comes the Bride, then you got it right. So why is all of this important? If you familiarize yourself with these key distances, right? I'm going to use Twinkle Twinkle Little Star as an example. The first note is if we're in the key of C, right? Right? And if you had to figure out where the other notes are, you would just use this ear training exercise to figure it out. So twinkle, twinkle, right? So if you work your way up the scale, if you can hear the distance, you'll hear that is going to be as far as G, right? Twinkle, twinkle, right? And then from G, if you hear little, right, you hear that the tone is going a little bit higher. So even from G, you hear that the next tone or the next note is right next door. So that would put you at A. So C, C, G, G, A, right? But again, if you were to familiarize yourself with how A sounds in relation to C, you would be able to use that as a reference as well. So if you can hear this distance between C and A, you'll be able to tell just from that this is A, right? And then star, would just be going back to that G. And then the rest of it should be easy because if you remember, ba ba, right? If you start from C, ba ba, sound familiar? Ba 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 ba, right? Guess what it is? It's F. How I, same note. And then for wonder, if that's the lyrics, wonder, right? From C, wonder, right? You might figure out that that is E. And then what you, if we use C as a relative key, what you hear how they're right up against each other? It is likely that it is D. And then obviously the final note would be C. So using C as a relative key, that's just an example of how you can use C as a reference point in terms of figuring out how far the notes are from each other in each part of the melody. With that said, I have another video on how to play any melody, or another way that you can learn any melody by ear. So the video is going to be either at the top right or the top left of this video. It should pop up sometime shortly. So if this video was helpful, please like, comment, subscribe, share, turn on the notification bar. I do about 1 to 2 of these videos a week just to kind of give you guys something to do, especially if you are a complete beginner learning piano as you picked up. These videos are for the person who is coming into piano for the very, very first time. And that tends to be my audience, and that tends to be who my videos are geared towards. So again, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments section, provide some feedback. If this was helpful, again, put some feedback in the comments section. I always read the comments. I always answer whatever questions that you guys have. So thank you for watching. I look forward to seeing you guys in my future video.